Welcome everyone to the PTC session on innovation and digital transformation, the challenges and opportunities for service providers. Unfortunately, we're not in Hawaii today, and so this is a session that's been recorded ahead of PTC, but hopefully the background and some of us wearing our shirts will give you the right feel of where we're all supposed to be for this exciting PTC event. And I'd like to introduce a fantastic panel. I'll start with a very old friend and colleague from Egypt, Mr. Ahmed Mekky. Would you be so kind as to introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Mark. Hello, everyone. This is Ahmed Mekky. I'm sorry I'm not in Hawaiian shirt today because it's a bit cold here, but I really wish to be with it. I'm currently the chairman and CEO of BENYA Capital. BENYA is a holding company focusing in ICT infrastructure in Africa and Middle East, starting in Egypt, in mega projects and system integration and manufacturing and different activities, all of them under the main umbrella of digital transformation with a focus on ICT infrastructure.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you very much. And moving over to Malaysia, to an old friend and colleague from TM, Mr. Amar Huzaimi, who's the Executive Vice President for both domestic and international wholesale. Amar, please, would you be so kind as to introduce yourself?
Hi, thank you very much, Mark. I'm Amar, as per Mark mentioned. Yeah, I'm too not on a Hawaiian mood today. Yeah, but I'm all in white. Hopefully, the one will share the sunlight spirit of this session. So I as per Mark mentioned, I look after the wholesale business of Telekom Malaysia, domestically and internationally. So we do connectivity across the region, throughout the world, especially from ASEAN and outside. And beyond that, we do some of the solution and also platform services on wholesale level. Yeah, that's about it, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you, Amar. And Professor Zheng from Shanghai, if you'd be so kind as to introduce yourself, please.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello, Max. Thanks for inviting me. So my name is Zheng. I'm now an assistant professor in ShanghaiTech University, and I'm working in School of Entrepreneurship and Management. So my major research interests include the technology and innovation management in specific. So I studied how the 5G technology could bring opportunities and threats for the companies. So okay, so thank you so much. So I'm really wishing to be in Hawaii, so I'm wearing my sweater now, so it's cold.
Thank you very much. And the longtime attendee and a member of the advisory committee of PTC and someone whose views we all trust and know, Joe Weinman. Please be so kind as to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Joe Weinman. As Mark said, I've been involved with PTC for about 15 years, and I encourage all of you to get involved or more involved. I had a long career in the telecommunications and information industries at AT&T, Bell Labs, HP, and Telex. And most recently, I've been writing about digital strategy and cloud economics and digital transformation. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much, Joe. And we're excited that everyone could be here. We thought that we would tackle a few of the things. Oh, I should introduce myself. My name is Marc Halbfinger. I work with PCCW Global. It's the international arm of HKT based in Hong Kong. We're excited to deliver all forms of connectivity and cloud-based service, including an evolving technology platform called Console Connect. So the challenges and opportunities that are facing us as an industry are increasingly complex because of various forms of change. These can be technology, these can be regulatory, all forms of structure, and requiring even new approaches to how we organize ourselves for market. And so let me start by asking, what are the challenges and opportunities for service providers, carriers, or anyone involved in providing any form of service in the ICT environment today? I think that there are three that we might want to try and tackle very briefly, and I'll let each of you pick any one, whether they be market orientation, technology, competitive landscape, or perhaps even also how the government influences all that. Perhaps, Ahmed, would you care to start and give us your perspective on what you think are the challenges and opportunities, very briefly from your perspective, and perhaps a little bit about how BENYA Capital is tackling that?
Thank you, Mark. Okay, I think what's happening all around us in different verticals affecting the ICT infrastructure, creating a lot of challenges, and these challenges are driving the opportunities. So now under the umbrella of digital transformation, if we talk about this is the name of the era, and there are different challenges. One of these challenges, of course, the change itself, as Heraclitus said, this is the only constant in life, that change. But depends how big is the change, the kind of the change, and also how severe the change. Recently, there are many changes happening, of course, with this special year 2020 with the COVID-19 and all the challenges that all the globally witnessed unprecedented kind of challenges drove many opportunities in digital transformation, pushed agenda for digital transformation of every nation. We in BENYA here, we addressed these kind of opportunities, and we consider these opportunities are duty at the same time. So opportunities, duty, and this kind it's driven by the challenges. We're focusing on this part of the world. We're starting in Egypt, but we believe that being in Egypt giving us the opportunity to address a bigger area, which is Africa and Middle East. And Egypt was really a right geography for us to start from, because this gives us the opportunity to address mega projects in ICT infrastructure, mainly for digital transformation, because the country decided to transform digitally already a few years ago. So we added these opportunities, being a national company, focused to be with international quality, following the best practice. And we already got many projects in ICT infrastructure, in education, in healthcare, in transport, in public enterprises, and in mega hyperscale data center projects.
So from your perspective, government is sort of shaping the agenda of transformation and innovation, and you are coming in and from the private sector facilitate.
Exactly. The collaboration between government and private sector is a must for having the digital transformation to happen. And the question of digital transformation is not anymore if or if not, it's when and how. When is always answered by government. If the government did not decide to transform the country, the nation digitally, it will be only isolated initiatives by private sector. It will not make true digital transformation.
Understood. Thank you. Should I ask you also? I mean, if I spend a lot of time obviously in Hong Kong and in the mainland, I'm just interested, perhaps in your perspective about maybe from an academic's point of view, sitting in China today. How do you see the story of innovation, the market, the landscape, and where do you see the important factors that need to be driven?
Nowadays in China, so for the digital transformation, I think this is a great opportunity for China. So because a lot of big tech companies start to emerge, but for the government, I think there are three forces that drive the innovation of China. So one is the market demand. So maybe the aging of the society, and also the present the customers start to have a lot of demand for personalization or something like that. Although on the other hand, the technology really developing a lot. But the most important factors or the most important drivers of the technology innovation, I think in China, is the government. We know that in the 13-5 planning, so they list a lot of big projects. So they kind of start to emphasize the importance of the, how should I say, the basic technology innovation, like the AI, the quantum computing, and also something like that. So this can, government can, because all this kind of innovation actually costs a lot. So they are more challenging, and they just give a lot of risk for the companies. So the government kind of is a leader, and they kind of want to buy for this technology. They want to pay for this technology. So they have a lot of policies. So in China, there is a little bit different. It's not just from the bottom up, it's more like the top down. So the government kind of advocate the policy about the technology, and they kind of cite the strategic direction for the companies, and all the company kind of get the policy, and they start to follow the government to do something innovative based on that. So I think now, so as I say, that there are three main forces, and the government definitely play an important role in this kind of process.
Thanks very much. Appreciate that. That's interesting perspective, taking Middle East and China and comparing, and interestingly, some similarities. Amar, in Malaysia and TM side, we just heard two perspectives from government vis-a-vis enterprise, government vis-a-vis academia. What is the view from the private sector in Malaysia? How would you take a look at the landscape of innovation today in Malaysia?
Thanks, Mark, for the question. For us here in TM, and especially in Malaysia, I think ASEAN specifically, there are reasons why it's being called digital disruption, right? In all of the things that's happening today, because it put an incumbent telco or many of the telcos in this region in a different state, in a state where we are being pushed to be out of our norm in terms of us providing services, because the services have now changed from a pure legacy connectivity right to the end of spectrum of a solution-based and to satisfy the demand of the customer, right? So we have, for example, gone were the days where people make phone calls, right? People now are just using WhatsApp call. So these are the impact on the digital innovation to us. So for a telco like us, we have to basically embrace this change, So it does create a lot of competitiveness in the current market, in the current space that we are operating. But nevertheless, it creates a vibrancy for us to embrace this change, So a telco like us, right, the one who used to provide a normal service or a legacy service, has to have a new survival instinct for us to treat these incoming technologies or the provider of this new technology as a new partner, because it creates a new ecosystem for an operator like us to continue to provide innovative solutions and service to our customer. So we never treat this competition negatively. In fact, we embrace them and we cultivate some of it within our organization to ensure that we are able to offer a new cutting edge technology. I think that's what I can share from a telco perspective.
That's interesting. So as a traditionally legacy network telco service provider, you're actually saying, no, we have to actually embrace innovative approaches to our organization and to make sure that you are tackling all of the new trends that are out there. Maybe later on we'll discuss some of the specifics there. But let me go to you, Joe. You're a consultant, a writer, an author, and an operator, an advisor, and you see the world through an interesting lens. Maybe give us a quick, 1-minute view of how you see innovation happening, the landscape, perhaps some of the competitive pressures. What's your perspective?
So I think you said a 20-minute or so quick summary, but briefly, there's good news and bad news that I see. On a positive note, what COVID-19 showed is that the ICT industries really saved the day. So if you were to go back to the time of the Spanish flu versus now, it's clear that any innovations that we've deployed as an industry, including simply more network capacity, have been great for the world to be able to survive as well as it has. On the other hand, I was struck by what Amar said about WhatsApp and the challenges there, which is from a disruption theory perspective, what people would say is that the profit has gone to a different module in the ecosystem. And so you've got companies like Apple with handsets, say, or other endpoint devices, and service providers like search providers that are taking a lot of the profit. And the ongoing question has been, how do telcos, from a traditional perspective, reinvent themselves? So some of what we're seeing with 5G, where telcos are moving up the application stack, trying to get more into the value-added portion of the industry, I think are steps in the right direction. And if we can find a way to harness our talent into skating to where the puck is in terms of customer needs, then that will be really great for us.
That's interesting that we're supposed to be in Hawaii and you introduce a hockey analogy about skating to where the puck is. Not sure if everyone is familiar with. Okay, but we'll use that. Well, Joe, that's very helpful. But you're painting a picture, perhaps Amar also sort of alluded to it, and so did you, and you're sort of skating around the issue. Let me throw the elephant into the room for a moment. Are network-based service providers, previously known as telcos, or are they competing with the clouds, or is there a way to complement them? You mentioned disruption theory. The basics of economics is that when there's shift, there's winners and losers out there on the street. Are telcos destined to be losers and clouds destined to be winners? Amar, let me ask you, because you engage with these guys quietly on a wholesale basis, and so you know the back door and the front door. What's your thinking there?
Well, on the face of it, Mark, yeah, everybody will be perceived. I mean, will have the perception that we are basically going head on with these OTTs, right? I mean, for the hyperscalers, for that matter, yeah. But I think from my perspective, for Telekom Malaysia perspective, we are not, because as I said, both need each other. To Joe's point, in the advent of this pandemic COVID, right? So the push up of this ICT adoptions, I think is being made, is being hastened, yeah. So in terms of having these services to be pushed up to the end user, you will have to work with someone with a ready infrastructure. So this is where a telco can complement an OTTs who basically will have a certain, I would say, a ramping up period for you to become to a point where a telco is in terms of the connectivity reach, yeah, and in terms of the infrastructure diversity. So I believe this model will be something which a telco should be more open to. For example, to work hand in hand with an OTT rather than perceive them as a threat. Yeah, I think in Telekom Malaysia, we are having this kind of, we are cultivating a partnership ecosystem for us to onboard this kind of partners, yeah, with the technology know-how, right? With a ready customer base. For example, the people like Facebook, yeah, and to imbue with the strength that we have in terms of our network superiority, diversity, and our know-how within the ASEAN region specifically. So to your point, Mark, I don't see that we are going head-on with the OTT. In fact, we can basically coexist because the pie is much larger for both of us to play. And I think the problem we're solving is the problem for the end user. And we believe both parties need each other to reach, or at least to satisfy the end user.
So that's an optimistic view. Then it's not about going head on. It's about each one finding their interoperability capabilities and determining how it's possible to go to market. Maybe we'll tackle that a little bit later. Ahmed, you've had a chance to speak with the highest levels of government in North Africa, throughout Africa, actually, as BENYA capital has expanded. Is that your perspective as well? Does government want to see the expansion of the network, or do they also want to bring in some of the cloud capabilities, particularly at the applicational layer, in order to facilitate domestic digital transformation, disruption, arguably? What's your view?
Thank you, Mark. I think both are very important. First, addressing the infrastructure. Infrastructure is the main foundation for digital transformation. We cannot even have proper access to cloud or connectivity or anything without having the right infrastructure. And the need for investing more and more in infrastructure is increasing, of course, which will require a lot of capex. And the smart way, which definitely will be seen as a trend, it already started, but it will be more of a trend in the coming years, which is investing in infrastructure in a smarter way. in a shared infrastructure model. So operators should focus on what what they should focus on to operate. So operators mainly having a kind of infrastructure provider or infrastructure as a service, which is a model that I believe it will be a disruptive model in a way, not only by fiber optic cables, tower sharing. There are many areas where could be provided as a service from the infrastructure point of view. This is a new trend, will help the operators to operate in a better and efficient way, will help the operators to align with the government agenda for the development nationwide with less capex. They will focus more on the OpEx component. Having the right infrastructure, which is in the part of the world where we are addressing Africa and the Middle East, we believe that there are tens of billions of dollars will be invested in infrastructure. So it has to be invested in a smart way. Going to cloud will solve a main problem for digital transformation, especially for SMEs and companies, which is the capex. This will minimize the capex. So it's the opposite actually of the infrastructure side. So this will minimize the capex and make it easy for them to jump from using the paper and pen to a digital system with a cloud-based model or cloud-based platform.
And is just a follow-on question. Do you think that's a common theme throughout the African continent today, or are there some markets that are ahead of the curve?
There are some markets that are ahead of the curve. As I mentioned, in that the first question is when, which who answers
which one is first out there in
Egypt? Definitely
Egypt is ahead of the game.
Years ago, Rwanda is definitely progressing really very well. South Africa, of course. Nigeria is already picking up and moving, also making good progress. There is one country that we just established a company for us there is DRC.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's a big country. It's very central in Africa. And
for those who don't know, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Kinshasa, not Brazzaville. Right. Okay.
Exactly. So
thanks for that. Please. Yeah, we'll get back to it. We'll get back to it in a moment. Let me just go to Wen. I know that in China, we were talking. So I think Amar was trying to put together how the cloud and the network operator needs to find their space in order to go to market in a way that is mutually acceptable. And Ahmed is describing how governments anyway need to facilitate digital transformation and therefore building out the network, and at the same time inviting the cloud as necessary. In China, I've noticed over the years that actually not too long ago, the large clouds in China, Tencent, Alibaba, Baidu, invested in a network operator in China Unicom. That's an interesting approach. What's your view about the relationship between cloud and network operator?
So actually, I'm not an expert in that area, but
that's all right.
But I feel I agree with Amar says that maybe they are compatible, and this is a big pie here. So I think everybody want to try to find their own space on that. So yeah, that's what I think I agree with that.
Okay, thanks. Well, then Joe, let me put it to you then. Are we destined to a world where each goes to the end user on their own, the cloud goes to the end user on their own, and the network goes to the end user on their own? Or can you see a world of interoperability, ubiquity, if you will, in terms of how an end user might pick the services they require that would get them the benefits of innovation, and at the same time not necessarily categorize a service as being the network service and the cloud service and so on? Or is this just the way it's going to be?
So I'm going to answer your question two ways, if I could. From a theoretical perspective, it could certainly be argued that cloud plus networks are a natural monopoly. And in an ideal world, there would just be one provider with optimal routing, say, to an Anycast node that was kind of regardless of provider, eliminated duplication, eliminated excess capital expenditures, sort of did this optimal combination of services that would be transparent to a user and provide a platform for expansion. When it was tried, at least in North America, going back a decade ago, the network service providers had a strong desire and interest as this cloud thing caught on and bought various pure play providers and attempted to integrate them. And 3 years later, 5 years later, they had basically divested themselves of all those assets. Now we're in a new era where the cloud is being complemented increasingly by the edge. And the edge is a natural place for network service providers to play, because obviously there's lots of buildings and other assets that are very close to the customer that could be used to deploy processing facilities. I think the real challenge has to do with things like the resource allocation process in large corporations that are basically taking every one of their tens of billions of dollars of capital and deploying it for 5G. So ideally, they would sort of repoint that capital a little bit to not just 5G base stations, but also edge computing and storage resources that were co-located kind of either with the base station or from a CRAN perspective. And that would provide a great platform for distributed services. I think the real question is there the vision, the wherewithal, and kind of the leadership to say, this is what we want to do and are going to do, because this represents a great architecture moving forward.
Got it. That's a fascinating view. I think it gives us a picture to say, okay, these are the different perspectives of landscape. Joe's given us economics overlap to technology. I think Ahmed's given us government direction. Amar's given us the market landscape, and Wen has given us the view that innovation is really what's critical. So let me go back to you, Wen, and focus in on the innovation. What are the opportunities for innovation that you see from your perspective? I have to say that when I travel in Shanghai, innovation seems to be prevalent in everything that happens, whether it be management of the virus or how you would order food, or nobody even uses a cash anymore. Everything is about how technology gets you ahead. What's your view of innovation and perhaps your perspective on what needs to happen beyond China, everywhere, for this innovation to become more universal?
So I'm not sure whether I can represent the whole world, but I do think so. I remember that last year. So I just go back to China. So I just feel that everybody just look at me because everything is just in a very new world. Just like you say, everything is digitalization, and every day something becomes digitalized, something physical becomes like digital. So in terms of the innovation, so as I mentioned that we are just working on a book that talks about 5G and innovation. So we would say that the innovation, the biggest opportunity for innovation in the next area in the 5G or even later is like the cross-domain innovation. So it's like we are just not so it's like, so there is a sentence saying that in the past we are centered in the products, but now we are more customer centered. So we are focused on the customer and customers' daily life. So therefore, so we need to combine all the knowledge from different areas to fit the customer. So therefore, I think the biggest opportunity for innovation is the cross-domain innovation. But you know, it's not just opportunities for the cross-domain innovation. They could give a lot of benefits to the company, but at the same time, cross-domain innovation is also very difficult. So they involve a lot of coordination and communication across different interdisciplines who never talked to each other before. So now they start to talk to each other.
I don't want to interrupt, but I think you're going to have to explain your view of cross-domain. Right? Because are we talking about applications and networks, clouds? Is that your view, or is it verticals when you talk about cross-domain? Maybe for the benefit of the audience.
I'm sorry, so.
Yeah, just if you could explain the term cross-domain. When you're saying that innovation would be helped by cross-domain innovation, just explain the term cross-domain from your perspective.
So cross-domain, I think there are two dimensions for the cross-domain innovation. One is like the vertical coordination of the service, and the other one is the horizontal. So we might just combine it's like the, how should I say? So yeah, so I cannot give an example immediately. It's like, for the, I just like the smart city. So everything must be coordinated. It's not just the transportation area. It's not just the hospital area. So maybe the innovation is just try to cross domain, just combine the knowledge from different areas. So that's my perspective.
Understood. Thank you. I think Ahmed, Wen has just given you what we call in volleyball, she's given you one to smack down, because that's exactly what you're involved in doing, right? If I'm not mistaken. And maybe give an example of what BENYA is doing. I know that you have a partnership with Corning to help meet the demands of fiber in Egypt. Maybe a few words about how you're trying to do, I think, exactly what Wen is describing is necessary, perhaps, unless I've missed.
Thank you. I fully agree with the way Wen described it. What we try to address these opportunities by coming with a sort of a new disruptive model to address this new era. It's a new era. The classical and traditional way definitely will not be the best way to address it. So we come up with a model with the holding structure with different verticals. Every vertical will address different component in the ICT infrastructure and digital transformation. So one vertical, as you mentioned, Marc, the part of the deglobalization and having the manufacturing facility for the cornerstone for the ICT infrastructure, which is fiber optic cables. We go best practice because we don't have the luxury of two things. We don't have the luxury of moving slow. We have to move very fast. Opportunities will not keep waiting. We have to address all of these opportunities concurrently in this big geography of more than 30 million kilometer of area. And serving in Africa, we're talking about more than 3 billion. So actually, this is one part. The other part that we don't have the luxury for, which is try and error. We don't have the luxury of making mistakes then fix it later. We have to do it right from the first time. So the answer here is the best practice, quality and speed. The main answer is best practice. So manufacturing facility is one. Another new disruptive model, which is cloud-based. We call it cloud of clouds. So we build what we call cloud of clouds to address the main requirement for SMEs. We have in a country like Egypt, 5 million SMEs needs to be transformed. They need to be transformed digitally, and they need a sort of a platform with minimum or very low capex to transform digitally. We partner with Microsoft, SAP, all the top names that they have the best practice and great references. And we put this under one big umbrella to address the three main components for the cloud: the license by the technology provider, the hosting facility, we Uber the hosting facility, so Ubering the hosting in a way. And number three, the professional services, which is done by our system integration team. So
that's fantastic. So you're levering different silos of activity under the BENYA umbrella to basically try and deploy in Egypt the atmosphere that Wen was describing as necessary from her perspective. And so, Amar, let me get down into it and refer to what you had said earlier, based upon the messages that we just got from Wen and Ahmed. They're basically describing how industry needs to change. And you said that TM has actually embraced these changes of innovation that are required. Maybe can you describe a little bit of how a service provider like TM, born of a legacy telco, is embracing change, perhaps even organizationally? How do you as TM organize yourselves for the changes that Wen and Ahmed are describing?
Yeah, Mark. Thank you very much for the question. I think the principle for us in terms of because digitalization, innovation is a big word, so we cluster those into few very critical compartments. For example, one, whether it improves our customer services. Yeah. Secondly, whether it creates a new value proposition for the customers, right? And of course, last but not least, it create efficiency in terms of the cost and how we deliver technology faster to everybody's point here. So for in Telekom Malaysia, yeah, we, for example, as a traditional wholesaler like us, we are predominantly involved in the cable business. I think, like it or not like it, connectivity is our base. Yeah, but that nevertheless diminishes our value proposition, because cable will be required, because as to Ahmed point, we need to invest in infrastructure. That will be the fundamental base for us to deploy any kind of solution. Yeah, so that we in Telekom Malaysia do very successfully. So, but however, a leader, for example, like all of us, have to basically have that instinct for us to continuously to innovate our offering. So not only that we stop at the connectivity base, but we are continuously exploring to other business adjacencies. For example, we acknowledge the existence of edge computing, right? We acknowledge the existence of platform play. So we are evolving towards that domain too. I think for Telekom Malaysia, we are embarking into a CDN play, because the way that we see edge in two views. One, you have a macro level edge, which is I would say it's like a CDN, right? Where you connect the globe together. But there's another point where there will be another view of edge that we see is the micro level edge, the in-country, in-region connectivity, which will basically have to be fully connected in order for you to reap the benefit. For example, when 5G come into play, right? When edge computing really evolved to its full potential, because at the moment I think it is still a theoretical concept. But here in Telekom Malaysia, we are creating a platform and ecosystem to make ready whatever that we can to basically invite those kind of innovation that come into our areas. Yeah. So to your point, Mark, we are moving into that space. Domestically, we are strengthening our fiber coverage in Malaysia and into ASEAN anyway, right? To the point of supporting our micro edge supporting readiness, and at the same time, we are expanding our nodes on a CDN platform to ensure that we are able to also do a macro level of edge play today. So a fundamental for a telco today is to realize that what are the strengths that they're having, and to harness it and find a good partner for you to grow into a relevant adjacencies for you to reap the technology evolution opportunities.
Understood. That's fascinating, and it's great to see TM really ahead of the curve in Malaysia, so to speak. So Joe, you're an author on this area, and you're writing a book now, I believe, on architecturing 5G and how that's supposed to drive innovative behavior for all forms of service provider. And I think that the three previous speakers really set the stage for you to bat it out of the park. But let me ask you, is 5G the end all, or is it just a facilitator for the next one and the next one? And Amar was talking about infrastructure being evolved in TM. My experience as we've put together more and more people from the software side of the house, together with the RF side of the house, together with the fixed network side of the house, the word infrastructure means different things to different people. It can mean databases, it can mean physical networks, it can mean data centers, it can mean organizations. What's your view about how we all need to tackle the word infrastructure within your scope of what you're doing in 5G and so on? And is it just the beginning, or is this the big story?
So I think we're probably just about out of time, and this is a very, very long answer, but I'll sum it up quickly. So on the one hand, mobility is obviously a good thing, and 5G is the new mobility, so therefore 5G is a good thing. However, I believe, and others do as well, that to some extent it's been overhyped, and that as you go through these detailed application scenarios, just to take one briefly, the idea for enhanced mobile broadband, that you'll be able to, have these incredible multi-gigabit per second rates going into your smartphone. That's great, except with today's form factors, it's very hard to tell the difference between 720p and HD, much less HD and 4K. It's not clear why you need 8K or someday 16K. So as you look at kind of each of the benefits that 5G offers, like increased data volume, lower latency, et cetera, it's a good thing, but it's not a magical thing. And wireline, especially fiber, still has lots of benefits. But I think the big trend is really this pendulum swinging, or perhaps the pendulum being complemented between center and edge. And to the extent that 5G is an edge, together with other resources through a set of layers of fog, that's what the new architecture will look like. And it has implications on service provider build out, on increasing interconnection bandwidth and fabric density. And so for sure, we're looking at a new architecture, and we have to recognize that that architecture is arriving so that we can even, understand it, leverage it, and build on it for kind of the goals of our customers and ourselves.
Fantastic. So as we are just about out of time, let me ask you, Joe, to start with just one or two words: the challenge of innovation and the opportunity. Can you encapsulate just in a couple of words on each side of the equation? Then I'll ask each of you to give your perspectives. Joe, give it a first shot.
Okay. Challenge would be leadership and investment focus. Opportunity is to usher in a incredible new era of ICT services. Okay, brilliant. Amar, how about yourself?
I do concur with Joe. The main challenge for innovation is the mindset, right? You have to have the right leader with the right vision for you to basically realize what you wanted to have. And secondly, coming from a telco, the bigger challenge would be how do we empower or basically equip the current staff that we have to embrace this digital, the digital concept that coming into this domain, because we are legacy builders. So we're trying to innovate ourselves. So this will be for me, the tech know-how adoption by the employees is also very key. Opportunities I mentioned is abundant, and we are very, very excited about the opportunity, especially in terms of how creative of a partnership ecosystem that a telco can build with any solution or innovation service provider. Okay, thank you. And what would you say? Challenge, opportunity, one or two words. You're muted, so we can't hear you. You're muted.
Okay. So I think I'll make it very, very short. It's like for the opportunity, as I just mentioned, is like increasing collaboration of.
Wow, we got her frozen just there at the wrong moment. Collaboration across the domains probably is what she was going to say, and I would have been eager to hear what she would say on the challenge. Ahmed, maybe you can give us a view as to your perspective on challenge and opportunity. Oh, we may be losing. Go ahead, Ahmed, please.
So, So can you hear me?
We got you back.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead. So we lost, you just need to give us the opportunity now.
Yeah, I think the opportunity, as I mentioned, is the cross-domain innovation, the increase in collaboration and coordination among different disciplinary. And for the challenges, so I think I agree with all of you guys. But so for the academic, we say awareness, motivation, and capability. I think that's three main words that I would say for the challenge.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Ahmed, to sum up for all of us, what is the challenge? What is the opportunity?
Okay, this is myself is a challenge to sum up with all of you. So and challenge at the same time. So, the challenge here, or if I summarize in one statement, the challenge is the big change, and big and fast change is a challenge. and to put also a heavy capital needed for infrastructure. So these are the two main components of the challenge from my point of view. This will drive the opportunity. The opportunity is innovative idea, disruptive idea. These are lots of opportunities on that with artificial intelligence and Internet of Everything to address these challenges. So the challenge will drive the opportunities.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. Well, I want to thank all of you for a fantastic session, bringing colleagues from China, from Malaysia, from Egypt, and from the United States, staying true to the PTC values that seeks to explore the requirements of industry, of academia, and of government. And I think it was a marvelous opportunity for us to explore what are the challenges that service providers face in digital transformation in today's day and age. Let's hope that everyone in this period of COVID-19 stays safe and healthy, and we hope to see you at PTC 2022 physically and not virtually. Take care, everyone, and have a great day.